Dirty Moderates, we covered the January 6th investigation in its entirety, in its comprehensiveness, to the full extent, given that horrible day in this republic's history, an absolute insurrection, an absolute attempt to invalidate 81 million votes. So that story, to me, is evergreen. We shouldn't forget it, especially as we go into election season, where the man who orchestrated, I believe, will be the Republican nominee, Donald Trump. So it is essential that we not forget what happened and what that committee unearthed and the people who worked on it. And chief among them, very, very important person. And I actually consider him something of a comrade in arms ideologically, too. I've wanted him on the show for a long time, and we have got him here today. Let us welcome a Dirty Moderate welcome to Denver Riggleman. Denver, good to see you.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here, Adam.
Honored to be here. I'm so happy to have, just by way of introduction, then we're going to jump into it. Denver's book is a must-read, The Breach, the untold story of the investigation into January 6th. But he is also, among other things, a former Virginia congressman, Air Force intelligence officer, data analyst. The list goes on and on. He is a man of many seasons, many talents. And here he is. But Denver, I want to actually start with this, because this, in my research, or in following you, and I followed you, I shouldn't even say my research because I follow you, I thought your book brought up something that was terrifying, more terrifying than the title of it, more terrifying than the events that we learned about from the committee which you worked on. That this attempt to overthrow the government was not a singular branch attempt. It was actually across all three branches. And for the civically ignorant, we have three branches of government. Let's remind people. And one of those branches, which is sort of, in many ways, in the Trump era, was kind of, for the most part, the last holdout, the last sort of bulwark against his authoritarianism, despite a few crazy decisions, mainly the court's hell. But what your book unearthed was the Supreme Court, Clarence Thomas, his wife, Ginny Thomas, who we've heard so much about, who ultimately did sit for an interview with the January 6th committee. But here, this is from your book, and here is what you wrote, okay? What really shook me was the fact that if Clarence agreed with, or was even aware of, his wife's efforts, Ginny, that is, all three branches of government would be tied to stop the Steele movement. Although I had suspected it, I was taken aback when we definitely tied all these messages to Ginny Thomas. She seemed mentally unwell. Yes. I'm laughing. That's not his word. It was an open secret around the Beltway that her views had gotten pretty extreme. This took my breath away because I only read the book this weekend. I had not read the book. I finally got you to get on, and I said, I got to read this book now. Not that I didn't want to. Congress, all the legislators, all the state people trying to push for fake electors, of course, the executive branch and all its nefarious. Mark Meadows, we'll get into that. Ginny Thomas.
Yeah.
Wow. Take it away. Yeah. It's right. I mean, it takes your breath away.
It does. The first time I even read the Meadows text, I call them the bourbon text because I needed to have a couple bourbons, because the crazy was interleaved throughout the entirety of the Meadows text messages. But finding Jenny's, I think she sent 21 text messages to Meadows. I think he responded to 8, or he had 8 responses. So I think it was 29 total text messages. But I think with Jenny, I don't think what people realized is that she copy pasted and forwarded a text from Connie Hare, who was the chief of staff for Louis Gohmert. And she was also talking about have direct contact with Jared Kushner as this was going on, starting from November 4th or 5th, all the way to our last text, which is near the end of January. And so you not only have somebody who's married to a Supreme Court justice, in the text messages, she's actually admitting to not only her craziness on QAnon and thinking that the Biden family is going to end up in Gitmo and there's quantum financial system watermarked ballots, which is just frankly insane. But also she was coordinating with the congressional office, Connie Hare, who's also a member of some of the organizations she's a member of, but also with Jared Kushner, saying she had direct contact to Jared also. So chief of staff, Jared Kushner, Louis Gohmert's office. So now you have a sitting Supreme Court justice wife actually coordinating with the congressional or legislative branch and the executive branch. And I think that's why you need a drink of bourbon when you read these crazy text messages.
Yeah, no, I trust me. I drink bourbon. I can't go through this era that we're living in. Although I'm a wine drinker too, has definitely upped my bourbon intake, and that's not just because of the COVID stay-at-home orders. Denver, let's go back. Okay, you were a man of Appalachia, right?
I am.
You
Yeah,
you
I'm
were
looking at them right now. Yeah.
yeah, you are. Where are you? In the Blue Ridge Mountains, right? Somewhere
I
around there.
am. I am. I got 50 acres talking about bourbon. You know, our family makes bourbon. So we
No, I
have
didn't know that.
yeah, we have
Wow.
distilleries in Virginia and Pennsylvania. So we have a 50-acre distillery property here in the Blue Ridge Mountains outside of Charlottesville. I'm in Afton, Virginia. And a lot of people are like, well, Denver, you know, you're a former congressman. Do you ever get death threats? Well, lots of them. Well, they can find you. I own public facing businesses. This isn't that hard. I own Silverback Distillery. So if you really, and I'm all over the news. So if you really want to give it a shot, do your business. But yeah, so yeah, I'm out here right now looking at the mountains, like
So
right to my left.
should we just tell the listeners I'm going to stop taping right now? I'm going to head up to Afton, and we're going to drink some bourbon and resume this program. No, we'll do.
We
that
can't. Well, we get.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I got it in barrels. Me and you can actually take them right out of the barrels. So I can do that for you.
I love it. No, I say all this to say that you were in the House Freedom Caucus, right? Arguably one of the more conservative outfits. You got elected initially in 2018, I believe, right?
I did.
Sort of
That's
against
correct.
all odds. And there you are midway through the Trump first term. And, we've seen this sort of crazy, this sort of rightward, insane authoritarian drift of the Republican Party under Trump. But we also saw something that started to really upset me too, though I am an independent. I am so sympathetic to the idea of limited government. It's sort of the world I'd like to live in, and so you did something, which I loved. I'm a gay man who is not lock, stock, and barrel with the far left. So you should like that too. And here you went, officiated a gay wedding, 2 campaign guys, right? Mm-hmm. And man, that was it. You got your pink slip from the GOP.
That was it. That was it.
You kind of can't believe it, right? Because here you are, by all accounts, a conservative on many issues, a limited government guy, but just a normal right, and I don't mean right wing, but fully realized individual who knows freedom means freedom for everybody, right?
Right.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. I mean, what the hell? I mean, what? And I know some of these, and I do kind of think the party. There are plenty of people who've gotten over this, but we're still obsessed with gay marriage there.
Oh, they are here in this district for sure. And
yeah,
I'm in Virginia's 5th, and as you know, when I was there, the district was shaped like a dragon riding a scooter. It goes all the way from D.C., down to the North Carolina border. But I remember doing the wedding. My wife and I were driving up to the wedding. This is only 7 months into my term, Adam. So. 2 very dear friends of mine and they knew that there could be some issues, but I said, it's going to blow over in 2 weeks. But my wife was going up there laughing. She goes, I'm so proud of you, honey. I mean, geez, who would do this? Maybe the first sitting Republican in history to officiate a gay wedding, which I think I was, which is pretty big. You would think it'd have been a bigger story, but I got just totally my throat cut. The Democrats hated me and the Republicans after this because of, all the issues of tribalism. But, when I was going up there, my wife goes, hey, Dad, she goes, maybe you might have the shortest political career in Virginia history. So I said, yeah, who cares? But she was kidding. She actually, I think, thought it would blow over too. But it didn't. That's why I was called, there's something fortunate though, Adam, is that it's really where I think I was the first sitting congressman or congresswoman to be attacked by QAnon, and which is interesting. And I also, I found out I was the tool of the Antichrist. I was called that. I was called the general of the Sodomite armies, which I thought was original.
I'm sorry. I mean, because Denver, you and I both, this is the thing, I'm sitting here terrified of what's happening on the left. And then I get dragged right back into this podcast sort of raison d'etre, which is fighting these fucking lunatics on the right.
Lunatics.
Pizzagate, right? Hillary is eating, has a pizza parlor, and they're eating children underneath it. And of course, Tom Hanks and Oprah are doing that too, apparently, right?
Oh, of course.
JFK Jr. is coming back to Dealey Plaza. Not JFK, JFK Jr.
JFK Jr. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, and now you're the Sodomite army. Look at you. 5 stars or what?
5 stars, baby. You think about too is that, then they accused my wife of laundering money for George Soros to our distilleries. Then it got crazy. Then I was called, I was accused of changing the sexual orientation of children. And by the way, this is before QAnon was in vogue. It was like, before it was cool. But more and more people, I saw people wearing Q pins, or they're coming up to me saying that I was secretly gay. But here's where it gets crazy. In the pejorative, I started being called a secret Jew. And that I was actually part of the Zog, the Zionist organizational government. And then I was called the worst thing you can be called, Adam, in the Republican Party. I hope you're ready for this. A secret Democrat.
Oh,
rhino.
Secret? No, you're a
rhino.
Secret Democrat. You're secretly gay, secretly Jewish, and secretly a Democrat.
Yes, I'm a secretly gay Jewish Democrat. Right. And that's the general of the Sodomite armies.
Here we are trying to have a serious interview about all your amazing data and analysis on January 6th. No, folks, this is the kind of stuff, though, that has been mainlined into the Republican Party's veins. And Absolutely. You know that. And we all know that that's true. We know that Trump and Trumpism is a scourge, which, hasn't just supplanted the party of what was Abe Lincoln, Teddy Roosevelt, Ulysses S. Grant, Eisenhower, Reagan. It's just ruined it. It's eliminated. And that's been scary for democracy. All of this is to say, I bring all this up to say that you then you lose your primary.
Oh, I wish I had a primary.
Oh,
no, I got tossed out in a church.
Tossed out in a church? What do you mean?
Yeah, Adam, listen, they talk about stolen elections.
They came after you physically? Where's your gun?
No, I wish I do carry. But I think, Capitol Police asked us to at one point based on the number of death threats I was getting. But no, what happened was I was leading in the polls. I think the final number was 68-32, even with everything that was happening. But I had been censured for the gay wedding, but I'd also been censured going after QAnon, saying I was a First Amendment denier. Think about what I just said there, by the way. So I was being censured all over the place. So the committee here in Virginia, the Republican committee, decided not to have a primary, but to have a convention at a church 5 minutes from my opponent's house in a district that's 10,000 square miles bigger than New Jersey. Only 2,500 people were allowed to vote. So I was actually beaten 1,400 to 1,100. I wasn't allowed a primary. And it's because the Republican Party, keep it small and control it all. But they talk about the stolen election conspiracy theories of 2020. Mine was actually sort of just taken based on the convention rules in Virginia. And the fact is, there are no rules. The Republican Party can pick you any way they want.
So the county that you're in was able to just basically toss aside the democratic process and have to go to a church and you're out.
Yeah. 21. Yeah. So now you're talking about, my district's 21 counties and 2 cities, Charlottesville and Danville. Right. I won most of the counties. Even in the convention, but there were 2 counties that they heavily weighted towards the Republican vote, where 1 vote equaled more than other people. So they can make the rules. So I lost, and in a very small church, and in a parking lot during COVID.
This is almost something. First of all, this I did not know. Mm-hmm. I just thought most of the reporting I've seen, I'm not saying it hasn't been reported, but in researching this particular thing, it's sort of read as, you just lost your primary. I haven't heard. Okay. But this sounds like actually something that Sidney Powell and Rudy Giuliani and John Eastman concocted with like some Smartmatic conspiracy theory, right? The fact that there would not be a actual primary to determine this. No. And this predates, this is before.
This is June. June of 2020. The thing is that they knew they had to disenfranchise as many people. And if you look at the laws around, or you look at Republican committees, or you look at Republican state legislatures, what they're trying to do is make it harder to vote. The Republican Party right now in many of these areas has to disenfranchise people. They have to make it harder to vote because they really are having a tough time mobilizing to vote for them. However, I had to live with it. And I think that's the hardest thing for me, is that I've been fighting a stolen election, or an election that was manipulated based on convention rules because they knew they couldn't beat me in a primary. And then January 6th happens, and it's just such a duality for me to look at what happened to me and then to look at the conspiracy theories around January 6th. I got to tell you, Adam, it's been, for somebody who went after terrorists my whole life, and, my whole life really is hunting terrorists and making whiskey. I mean, that's really what I do. Yeah. But I think, what I've been through has probably been one of the biggest eye-openers, one of the most humbling things I've gone through, and maybe one of the biggest learning experiences.
Yeah. And before we get more into the January 6th detail and all that data, let's also go back and talk about, so you're LHG. So where were you born?
I was born in Manassas, Virginia. So I'm a Manasshole.
You're a Manasshole, but that's Northern Virginia, isn't it?
It is. My dad lived in Charlottesville here in Central Virginia. Right. So my mom was up in Manassas, my dad in Charlottesville. So I'm about as Virginia as you can get.
Okay. And take us through it. How'd you end up in intelligence, the military? Like what, give us the formative years of Denver.
Oh gosh. Well, I was a loser. So, so thank God that's how it starts.
I love
That's how it starts. So I got married at 19. I got kicked out of the missionary training center. I was raised Mormon.
Okay.
Got kicked out of there because I fornicated.
You still a Mormon?
No. I mean, I own distilleries, brother.
You fornicate a lot? Is that what you said?
I fornicated a lot as a teenager, I guess.
Oh,
this
is fun.
Yeah. So, but 19, I got married because my current wife's dad said that I had to marry her to live there. So after a couple of days living in a car, I finally, got a $1,500 personal loan and paid for my own wedding and got married at 19. So for 3 years, we lived in a basement, and I was a loser, and my wife worked, and I didn't do shit except lift weights and go to Golden Corral. And then by the age of 22, though, my wife got pregnant somehow. So she's like, hey, either I'm going to go to work and you're going to take care of the kid, or you're going to go to work and I'm going to take care of the kid. It's up to you, loser. I'm like, okay. So I joined the military, signed up 3 days later, and enlisted in the Air Force. So I was an enlisted guy till 25. And believe it or not, Adam, I wasn't a complete moron. I went to associate. I got my associate's degrees, and then the Air Force said, are you smart enough to go to real college? I said, maybe. So I got a scholarship and got accepted to the University of Virginia. I graduated #1 out of my class in ROTC, became an intelligence officer, and then back to back, Operation Allied Force in 99, and trained the Omanis in F-16 operations in 2000. I was one of the first to deploy 9/11. So then went to NSA.
Into Afghanistan? Where to?
No, I went to Diego and then Oman. So with the B-1s. We were I mission planned the first bombing runs to Afghanistan, which is sort of cool. Yeah. And then went to NSA for a while, started another company, sold that in 2012, became senior consultant at the Pentagon for electronic warfare and countermeasures, and then was asked to run for Congress when I thought I would lose. I won a convention by 1 vote. Then I won during a blue wave. So there you go. I know that's really, really fast, but all in there was my counterterrorism work, which is about 20 years with business and military.
Right. So, when the January 6th, obviously you were defeated in June of 2020, but we were watching this, you see Biden beat Trump. Did you vote for Joe Biden?
I did not vote for Donald Trump. So there you go.
Fair point.
Yeah. And then, because my last day was January 3rd, Adam. So you're talking 3 days before January 6th was my last day in Congress. So yeah. And, Liz had called me January 7th for help. So it wasn't just the
Liz
committee.
Cheney.
So there you go.
Yeah. I mean, I know this is one of the things that I think is very fascinating and interesting here. So here's a guy, you voted obviously with Trump at 92% of the time. I'm not saying that as a pejorative. They always say about Liz Cheney. It's like, yeah, the guy's a Republican. Okay. I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, if somebody leaves the Democratic Party and then they say, well, he voted with Joe Biden or she voted. Yeah. Okay. Policies being policies. No, I mean, I understand that we're allowed in this country to have a difference of opinion. And one of the things that January 6th and the whole Trump era has made so harrowing is that if we're going to be a two-party country, and I wish we had more than two parties, to be honest with you, because I'm politically honest and so are you. Yeah. But we have to have a sane conservative party. We have to have a Tory party or some kind of party that's a center-right check on the Democrats and their craziness too, their excessive spending, their taxation, their value systems, all that stuff. So people really have a choice. And now I feel like we've got an authoritarian cult. I don't feel like we do. We do. And we have a party committed to democracy, but one that's dysfunctional with someone who's too old, running for re-election with a youth base that are ready to enlist with Hamas. I call them the Hamas wing of the Democratic Party. So that's how I see it. And I think at 30,000 feet, that scares the shit out of me from both sides. And, it's hard now to talk about asymmetry. People are like, well, you have to have moral clarity. Oh, I've got moral clarity against Donald Trump. Where is your moral clarity against institutionalized anti-Semitism? Don't tell me it's not there. And don't tell me it's 2 college professors at some liberal arts college in Bennington, Vermont. It's not. It's pervasive. It's widespread. I went to Brown University. I was told to imbibe that shit for graduate school, and I spat most of it out because I knew it was shit. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
neo-Marxist and post-colonial crap. It's just crap. It's all gutted up in masqueraded, garlanded language, to be pretentious in the way I describe it. But it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And you read this, and I'm as a student of theory, and you go, yeah, it's just theory, but it's also bullshit. So
It is.
That was
I
so.
I told somebody, because people love to quote Marx, or and I'm barely educated,
And
right?
I
I did
haven't
get to
read it, by the
Euclid.
way. I've also had to read, it's too much, Mark. So I'm not some guy who read one quote on the internet, or
Right.
even, the Republicans do this thing of everything is socialist. No, everything's not communism and socialism, okay? But the Marxist ideas have been distilled through the academy for 50, 60 years now, and found a way to kind of
That's awful.
Yeah, they've metastasized into people's mind. That is true, but it's not that everyone's there with a hammer and sickle being like, bring back Lenin. But I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I keep telling people crazy isn't party specific. It's just that the far right is in a hold my beer moment, right? Now you're seeing that you're talking about with the weirdness I've seen on Hamas or on anti-Semitism. And as you know, I mean, listen, big supporter of Israel, but I'm also, I'm not completely stupid to the wiles of terrorism. And when you're talking about Hamas specifically, and me, I have been in the tunnels, right? I've been there. I've been in them. It's really difficult for me to get my head around people who seem to forget about what happened that fateful day on October 7th to those poor people. And I don't know. It's just a difficult thing, Adam. And it just seems to me that crazy is the set button for so many people now, regardless of their tribe.
Yeah. And the crazy that went on in the attack on the Capitol, the other thing your book reveals, and it's obviously not just in your book, but it's everywhere, is this really terrifying thing that the White House, somebody at the White House, right, was in touch with somebody who was at the riot.
Yes.
Right? Tell us about that. Take us through that little morsel in the treasure trove.
I think the one thing, there's many things. I do think that the committee was very successful in some ways, but completely unsuccessful in looking at the command and control architecture of what happened that day, which, what I wanted people to do. The untold story of January 6th is the data. And the committee was not resourced enough, nor did it have the ability to know what we were doing on the technical side, no matter how much we tried to explain it, because there were so many competing notions onto where the investigation should go. And I think the thing that has really we let down the American public was what White House numbers were calling in and out with rally organizers and things like that. If you think about it, Kelly Sorrell from the Oath Keepers texted Andrew Giuliani. I mean, they texted each other. When you talk about,
where was Andrew Giuliani the day of the January 6th? Was he there?
No, well, I don't know if he was there in that specific place, but I know in November, December of 2020, Kelly, he worked for President Trump, and of course his dad is Rudy. So you got somebody in the White House staff that is actually in communication with Oath Keepers. That should probably be a major American story. Yeah. And it wasn't, which was really sad. And I think the other thing too is you have like Latinos for Trump, Bianca Garcia, 5 phone calls back and forth with the White House. You had multiple White House calls. You had the White House switchboard number actually reach out. Now that number can come from multiple numbers within the White House because it defaults to that switchboard number. But you had somebody calling Anton Lunick that day, which CNN reported, which I couldn't believe they actually released his name, but called that individual that day. And I wanted to find those numbers, and I could never get those numbers either. And I know phones. And I think if we had gotten those White House numbers, I think that would have been much more clarification for the American public on who in the White House was involved in the planning and carrying it out of January 6th.
I know there was a point in your work where you went your own way. You and the committee went separate ways. Mm-hmm. Were you pushing for this, for more? Obviously, as you said, and then there was resistance. What was tell us, because obviously I believed in the committee and I'm a big fan of what they did. Tell us why they were unwilling to explore the avenues you suggested further.
Yeah, I don't know what was in their heart, honestly. I think you have investigators and staff who have never actually looked at data at this level. It's very difficult. If you think about the call records, if you have 38 million lines of data, we were able to parse that because we're great at it. We have the tradecraft and the technology to do that. But I don't think the committee could get their arms around the fact that although Trump was the major target for them as they were going forward, the facilitators at the second and third level are just as important, if not more so, because they're doing the funding, the organization, and the coordination. So that's the issue I had, is I could not seem to break through. And as I found more and more, it seemed they were going in another direction. The thing is, I would have stayed with the committee. I asked for leave of absence because I actually got asked to help with Ukraine. But they said I couldn't do both because of conflict of interest. And which again was really surprising to me because they had consultants and things like that. But I think after finding the Jenny Thomas text, which we did, it was our team. And I think I was very, very forward leaning that we needed to go look at Roger Stone more. We needed to look at Mike Flynn more. We needed to look at Alex Jones more. Some of those individuals, we certainly, needed to look at, the horsemen of the grifterverse. And I honestly thought we should have subpoenaed Clarence and Jenny Thomas, which really wasn't the committee wasn't a big fan of that either.
And why was that? Do we think that, do they think that subpoenaing a Supreme Court justice was untoward?
I think when you're looking at,
I can't understand it. I mean, why would he be immune?
I don't know why it was. Well, the thing is the only link I had was Jenny at the time, but I needed more data, and we could have gotten it. I knew how to get it. And, then you have a resourcing issue, or you have an authorities issue. So the other thing too, is that this was not a law enforcement investigation. I think what people understand is I couldn't get specific types of data, and I don't want it because I want that, I want the authorities to be separated. I don't want me to be able to go get all your data. No, I mean, but as a public trust investigation, I can get to from data, but we were limited on authority. We were limited on resourcing, but we were also limited on what I think the committee prioritized. And that wasn't my decision on the prioritization. But the fact is, I've forgotten more about counterterrorism and data analysis than everybody on the committee combined. So I thought it was interesting that they didn't go my way on some of the things.
In the analysis of your data, it was so fascinating because this is so above my pay grade, how to analyze data. But imagine a world. What's that? Frightening.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, it's cool. Frightening, but it's pretty cool too. Yeah.
I can't imagine a world we didn't have that technology. There are like two people here in the data, as the data showed, that kind of showed us the detailed and nefarious roadmap to this attack. One of which, of course, is Mark Meadows, right? Whose many texts showed the depth of his commitment to conspiracy theories, but also someone who, often is laughed off as Cokie McCokester, the buffoon himself, Donald Trump Jr., who was quoted, and you found this, where he said, "This is what we need to do. We need to get Trump electors," or something to that effect.
That's right. That was Don Jr. This is son.
The son.
Yeah, the son.
Yeah. Talk to us about Don Jr., Mark Meadows, and because I think people know the players now because they've been so publicized, and of course there's 91 felony counts, not all on this issue, but 30 plus or so on the January 6th stuff. Now, I don't mean tell us about Trump, what a buffoon he is. I just mean this is like Trump Jr., Mark Meadows. Now, of course, we don't have Donald Trump in any of these texts, but this is what you call far from heaven.
Well, what people, I find it interesting. All this is coordinated. For instance, when you look at Don Jr. talk about alternate electors, you see the real momentum starting November 4th and 5th, like for people like Rick Perry, who is really, really dominant in the text messages, which I don't think people understand how dominant some of the former.
You're talking about Energy Secretary, former Governor of Texas?
Yes.
Tell us how. Tell us what.
Sure. Sure. So you're talking about Rick Perry. He started talking about alternate electors, I think, as soon as November 4th or 5th, maybe November 6th. And remember, I'm trying to think through 2,319 text messages and all the content and by memory, but I'm pretty sure I've read them so many times. But I think Rick Perry, you're looking at Rick Perry, you're looking at other people that weren't really specifically congressional representatives, but then you have the Andy Biggs, you have the Mike Johnsons, November 7th text from Mike Lee,
Speaker of the House,
current Speaker of the House, who actually sent the support letter for the stolen election on November 7th with Andy Biggs and Mike Lee. So you have all this happening, but you have Don Jr. talking about alternate electors because it's in the same freaking ecosystem. They're all coordinating at this point. I really was the first one to term that the Mark Meadows text was the Rosetta Stone for the entire January 6th insurrection. It's the roadmap. And so when you're looking at Don Jr., he's parroting in a much more ignorant way. He's parroting, what a lot of other people were saying. And even by, the beginning of December, you're seeing people for the Council for National Policy talking about Eastman getting involved. You got Scott Perry talking about Clark. You got all the alternate electors churn that was happening as soon as the election was over, November 3rd. So for me, when I see people say that this wasn't coordinated, wasn't organized, or things like that, you'd almost have to be drinking some kind of weird cleaner fluid or actually, sniffing glue, not to know that there's the far right has a much better coordination system through encrypted chats, through the way they do things with the Council for National Policy, the CPI, Conservative Partnership Institute. You're talking about, the Claremont Institute, all these people. It's like one big intellectual orgy, for these guys, are anti-intellectual orgy, where they're all spreading these ideas and trying to make things happen through force of will and through nefarious means. And, so Don Jr. was just part of that ecosystem of spitting that out on the alternate elector side.
You see the apparatus of the Trump years, and especially after the 2020 election. He loses. We now learn through many Trump affiliates and people that Trump knew he lost and couldn't handle it, and actually knew he was going to lose. I mean, according to Kellyanne Conway, who said she had nothing to do with this, she said she went in there and said, "Mr. President, it's over. We got to, the jig's up." But now you see Speaker of the House. He's now Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. You hear about Mark Meadows, who was, I believe, a North Carolina congressman at one time. You have all these establishment people who, yes, some of whom maybe you serve with. I'm sure you were there with many.
I did. Served with both of them.
People. Yep. Well, this is a more spiritual question. This can't be answered by data. How committed are they to an authoritarian government, or is there fear of Donald Trump and his retribution just so extreme that they turn into quivering pieces of jelly? I mean, all this entire group, all this entire group of people, all of a sudden, not saying they aren't extreme, all of a sudden, all the guardrails of government should go away. I know I've been speaking out against it, but there's still part of me that goes, really, in the absence of a Donald Trump, Mike Johnson's a threat to the Republic? I don't know. I ask you, what?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I've told people over and over, there's a couple things. First of all, when you look at the text messages, you look at how QAnon conspiracy theories and apocalyptic or messianic belief systems and conspiracy theories actually completely inundated and saturated the Republican Party all the way up to the president. It's every level of the Republican Party now. There's a Christian nationalism bent that's so freaking virulent within this. Now, by the way, so Adam, God, it's not authoritarianism. It's not authoritarianism if you're doing God's work. I mean, that's how they're thinking. So if they're thinking, hey, listen, biblically, God's telling me I have a direct link to the supernatural, and it's telling me that we have to go this route, and Donald Trump has been ordained as the leader of the Republican Party by God himself, that gets the imperfect vessel, right, to actually fulfill a perfect mission. They're going to do that regardless, because that's how they actually win. Because I say all this just to tell you this, Adam, it's all about polling, crosstabs, and fundraising. That's it. And if they can glom on like remora fish onto the great white idiot, right, shark called Trump, they can win and they can keep power. They're the little Stalins that really try to leverage their position just so they can continue to win. And they'll say anything to win. And that's the scary thing, is they're hiding behind the Bible. They're using sort of this Christian nationalism message. But really what it comes down to in their district, it is the base. It is the voters that's driving all of this. So it's a symbiotic relationship that gets hotter and hotter, because crazy has so much more energy than sanity, my friend. And, if they get fed a bunch of...
That's why I'm worried about the election, because people say, well, Trump's as old as Biden. I said, yeah, but crazy sells. Crazy looks youthful. Crazy is vibrant. Crazy is alive.
It is. And it's addictive. And I think you can mine the ignorant much easier with this type of methodology and message, that facts don't matter. It's always fantasy over facts. And I think that's really what scares the hell out of me, is that regardless of where you're at on what the policies are or the issues, it comes down to, is that fantasy or faith trumps any facts-based insights or analysis based on data. And I think that is the religious bent, where the leaders of the Republican Party are mining those that are evangelicals and very religious, that supernaturally Trump is the natural choice, which think about, that was probably one of the most ironic statements I could say. Supernaturally, Trump is the natural choice because God told them. And I think that's what scares me. It's not the people really that they fed the beast. The beast is now eating them, and the base is the beast, and they're going to have to react to that to win, and they'll do anything to win. So it's really about, do they get the money? Does the polling say that Trump is part of their district, and can they actually mine that for better and better fundraising and power within the Republican Party?
It shows.
That's my opinion.
No, but it makes it clear. Look, you couldn't keep your seat. You should have been reelected. I'm glad that we had you, of course, on January 6th, but you should have been able to hold that district again and again and again. But anyone running in a Trumpified district, or a district where the Republican Party, the Trumpified Party, is going to use its tentacles for power, they're going to have to toe the line. So someone can't be in your district now and come out and say, hey, I'm for Nikki Haley, or hey, I'm pro-choice, or whatever deviation from the orthodoxy it might be.
My hubris was thinking that integrity mattered. That's really what it comes down to, is that I've told people that integrity and winning elections are mutually exclusive.
Well, I mean, these days, but when you were in Congress, this is the other thing I'm just fascinated by. When you were in there, you're in committees. What committees were you on?
I was fortunate. I was on an A committee, Financial Services Committee, and I was actually the vice chair for the National Security Subcommittee as a freshman, and I was on the deputy whip team as a freshman. So they really thought I was the new Republican. They put me on leadership track pretty quickly. I was a great fundraiser. And I really thought that I could make a difference. And, so they gave me incredible committees. And because I won in a blue year as a Republican, with somebody who voted to legalize marijuana, with somebody who was for the Marriage Equality Act, somebody who was on the Climate Change Caucus. I was doing all these things thinking that somehow if I was like the debater, I was like the middleman, the initiator for thought of like intellectual policymaking and facts-based policymaking, that I had to play the game a little bit, to vote right so I could actually get to a position where I can make a change. That is a slippery slope. And it's just, God, Adam, it's just what a learning experience. But yeah, I was very fortunate to have 8 committees.
And I mean, you're there with Mike Johnson, you're there with Biggs, you're there with Gomer, you're there with Gosar, all these people. You're in the room. You've been in the room and lunches with. Let me ask you this. Is this like WWF wrestling when I was growing up? Like, Hulk Hogan, Macho Man Savage have a match and snarl and hit each other with, what do you call it? Ropes and sticks and shit. Then go back. Oh, we're going out to lunch, man. Or does the camera go off and you're like, oh, these are just a bunch of performance artists? Or is the camera off and you think you're at some like, you've gone to hell in a revival meeting? I'm just curious.
Elise Stefanik is a performance artist.
Right.
Louis Gohmert, Paul Gosar, Scott Perry, Andy Biggs, true believers. They're the same way behind the door that they are in front of the door. And that's what scared the shit out of me.
Because Adam Kinzinger said something akin to that in the Atlantic, that he looked up from a committee meeting and he said to himself and said it to the reporter. I don't remember which article it was, about a year ago. He said, man, these people are fucking crazy.
That's the issue, is that I came to the realization in about 7 months that these guys aren't performance, that there's I would say, I want to just throw a number, but I think I'm right. I would say 30 to 35% of the Republican conference are literally effing insane. If you look at the Marjorie Taylor Greenes and Boeberts, I think they just actually, they're not as crazy. I'm telling you right now, they are not as extreme as the Perrys and the Gosars. I'm just
Marjorie Taylor Greene, Boebert.
Yeah. They talk
off as performance artists too.
They're also, they're glue infected, right? They're not very smart. And I think, I think that's part of it too, is that Biggs.
I like that. Glue infected. I like that one.
Thank you. Biggs is much smarter than they are. And I would say Gosar is not. Gosar has real issues, but Biggs is not an idiot. And I think he knows how to play the game. Jordan is not an idiot. People think he is, but he ain't. He is actually playing to his base and where his fundraising is and what Trump is telling him to do. That's it. That's what's happening. And anybody who tries to put any intellectual exercise to that, more than that, they're actually wasting time.
Matt Gaetz, he just has daddy issues. What's his story?
Matt Gaetz, maybe I would say one of the smarter members of Congress.
Yeah, I know he went to law school with Mary, so he's no.
No, he's no idiot. Yeah. But his moral compass has been broken a long time, and the danger comes to the fact that he's drunk his own bathwater. But he'll never be anything more than a Florida congressman. because, I mean, of the district that he's in, he has to act the way he is. Again, the base drives Matt Gaetz, but Matt Gaetz to me is just a bad person. Not stupid, and everything he does is performative. If you think Matt Gaetz believes anything he says, again, you're thinking too much into it. Matt Gaetz is going to say what he needs to get reelected, get power, get money, and make sure he's on TV, because there's no camera that Matt Gaetz won't attack. I mean, he carries his own makeup kit, for God's sake. So.
No, I know he's very enamored with himself, isn't he? And his suits,
dude, and like you can tell I'm not.
Weight. Well, no, but he looks like he lost some weight. He goes in there and, I find him very preening. You know what I mean by that? He's a preening type of guy that goes in front of the camera and always looks good. And I don't know, something's off about him. I can't put my finger on it either. There's something we don't know about it. I just stake it. I know that he had a powerful dad in the Florida Republican Party, and he's just too gaga goo goo with Trump's power. With males who have more power, he sort of seems like, I don't know, sort of wrapped.
Well, Daddy had a lot of power, right? Matt Gaetz's daddy had a lot of power in Florida. And, and that when you said daddy issues, it almost made me cry, because it's absolutely what it is.
Yeah, it looks like it,
Yeah, he's never been his own man. And I think that's the issue is sometimes when people's balls don't drop, I think that they have to go and find other individuals. So I think that's part of it.
Yeah. I now, on a more sobering note, we've heard about if Trump gets in, this 2025 project of, eliminating civil service and stacking the deck with everybody. And last night he kind of joked with a twinkle in his eye to Sean Hannity, who asked him twice, "Are you saying you're not going to exact retribution on your enemies, right?" He said, "I'll be a dictator for a day. I'll drill and seal the border," which, by the way, isn't dictatorial to drill in the Arctic. I mean, that's just a position. I didn't know that that's synonymous with autocracy, but we've lost our way a little bit.
Or he's calling Stormy again. I mean, there's other things. Stormy.
Well, how serious? Let me say.
I was talking about drilling.
This buffoon can't dictate his McDonald's order. I mean, the one thing I think that we have to remember about Trump, though he's so dangerous because he's crazy, is and I'm not saying this to minimize anything, because I think his threat to the Republic is grave, but I do think he's not a disciplined authoritarian like a Joseph Stalin or an Adolf Hitler. And those guys were believers. I mean, they were tried and true, from Hitler's Austrian youth. He was a filthy anti-Semite ready to go. Stalin had watched Lenin and watched the Bolsheviks and all of the czars and all the damage. In other words, there's so much history that went into this. Trump is, there he is, even performing it with a twinkle and a laugh and whatever. How serious do you take the language of Trump being a dictator?
I actually very serious. Trump always tells you what he's going to do, and then he tries to cover it up with jokes, which seems to be the far right way, right? Oh, I was just joking, man. No, he's not. But what he is going to do is he's going to weaponize whatever executive power he has against civil authorities and against, the bureaucracy of the United States of America. And when you have people talking about a Kash Patel becoming, CIA director, or you have somebody still talking about some of these other, knuckle dragging idiots actually being part of the military industrial complex or being part of the DOD, you get really, really scared, especially the intelligence community. The Rick Rennells, all these people who, in any other world, honestly would be not, it's an honest, it's not, I don't know what they would be doing. Maybe, trying to, what they would be doing? They would be running Nigerian prince scams. I mean, that's pretty much, the limit of their, capacity. But that's perfect for Trump. And Trump's the perfect mark for them. And this is what I've been trying to tell people. Yeah. Trump is their ability to make money. It's not the other way around. Trump is a mark. And for people like Roger Stone, for Steve Bannon, for Mike Flynn, for Alex Jones, all these individuals, even the lawyers like the Jenna Ellis's, the Sidney Powell, the Lynn Woods, all those people saw Trump that they could just feed off of him for their own power base based on Jesus. And I'm watching the base here.
The religious man, the thrice married louse, cheater, liar. How many abortions did he pay for? They used to joke. You probably remember this, about Ronald Reagan, who never went to church, but he, as William Sapphire famously said, he jollied along the religious right. He didn't believe that shit. And, he signed a liberal abortion law in California, and Reagan was Reagan. And that was a knock against him because he was standing there all the time with the moral majority mouthing off like he believed in school prayer. The truth of the matter is, though, is Reagan was a politician who loved the country. Donald Trump is a orange von fuckface who only believes in himself, and the damage that he's done, as you know, to the conservative movement and the Republican Party and to the country. He broke the country in a lot of ways.
He has. Trump's a parasite.
Yeah.
He feeds off things. And, and then he regurgitates what he feeds off of to his little followers. And, even, if you look at the people still around him, the Scavinos and things like that, which sort of has escaped. Dan Scavino, to me, was one of the most important people. When you're talking about $255 million raise between November 3rd and January, one of the dates there on Stop the Steal alone, Scavino was a master at tapping into the conspiracy theorists and making sure the messaging was tracking with that. And so you
tell
still
us about Scavino a little bit. Tell us more about Scavino. Where does he come from?
Yeah, Scavino is, Trump's comms guy.
From, comms guy.
Oh, Scavino is really important to what Trump does as far as communications. Obviously, I probably shouldn't go into rumors, but I was so close to nailing some of this. But my guess is that you had a comms guy who was really involved with the troll farms, whether it was on 8kun, 8chan, or 4chan, whether it was on the Donald.win, all of the sort of, Gab and Parler and all those other, gutter type of social media platforms, all of that stuff. I think that they were really in tune with as far as finding those voters and that type of, I would say, radicalization methodology in order to get people to the polls and to believe some of the craziest stuff on Stop the Steal and some of these conspiracy theories. So, the Scavinos of the world really have escaped any type of accountability, and so is most people, honestly. And that's really an issue.
Well, what is your take though on the 1,000 roughly people who've been indicted and a couple hundred who've gone to prison?
I think a lot of them were necessarily bad folks. They were. I didn't say. They were bad folks, but I would say 70 to 80% were just the typical. They love America, but they're obviously mouth breathers. So that's the issue that you have, is that they're just not that smart, and they were willing to do something so ridiculously bad. Then you have people, like the QAnon shaman and people like that it took it to another level now, running for office.
I know.
But he's the perfect candidate right now for the far right, and will get votes even if he runs as a libertarian or independent. So again, Adam, I think for the 1,000 people, when you're looking at all those individuals, there's some unfortunates in there who actually believed what Trump was saying. But, when you're talking Oath Keepers, Proud Boys, or any of the other far right white nationalist groups, these are just bad actors who thought this was a power trip for them. That was it.
This Bianca Garcia, who you mentioned, who was a Stop the Steal woman, she met with the Proud Boys, according to your work or your book, on the 5th.
Of course she did. Yeah, she was also really close to Patrick Byrne and other people that's going to escape accountability. And people like, our good friend, My Pillow, Lindell. So,
Can I tell you about Mike Lindell? Before I knew that he was this wackadoodle, that pillow commercial going on and on and on and on. And I had this thing. I turned to my friend once. I made a joke and I said, I'll tell you what, fella, to this guy, if I can meet him, I'll buy your fucking pillow. I never have to see you again. I didn't know he was an arch supervillain. I just thought he's just. I said, if I never have to see this guy, I'll buy the fucking pillow. Give it. I'll buy it. I'll pay it. If I see one more My Pillow commercial, and there you go. Right? He turns out to be a Trump stooge, bootlicker,
and somebody wants power.
Who wants power?
Adam, it's all about power for all these people. And this is a guy who was addicted to drugs, and that's great that he got over it, but he has an addictive personality, and now he's addicted to stupid. That's the he's addicted to Trump. Trump is his crack. Boy, that's a real weird statement.
Oh, who knows though? They're all so fucking lunatic. They're so weird there. They really are an amalgam of like clowns and weirdos. That word weirdo, like degenerates, liars.
Oh, they're degenerate liars.
Just a bunch of degenerate liars.
Roger Stone, man.
God. So what I was going to ask you is, in terms of like Republican Party ideology, when you went in there in the Freedom Caucus, like when you were in there, like you seem like a libertarian conservative to me.
I am.
Maybe you seem like a dirty moderate even.
I am a dirty moderate.
Republican, it's like, oh God, you're a Rockefeller Republican or something, but you sound like it. Are you pro-choice? Obviously, you're pro-LGBT. Are you pro-choice? Where are you?
Yeah, that's got me in trouble. My opponent really thought that life began at erection.
There's so many one-liners. Say, I tell you, it's great. This has been the starkest, funniest episode I've had. Yeah, I have. Denver Riggleman, ladies and gentlemen. It's like a Howard Stern episode with a somber warning attached about the dictator on the march. No, but wait. So, but where were you? Like, where would you
Yeah.
in
Sure.
in more doctrinaire ideological terms identify as a conservative? Like on what?
I was so anti-regulation on so many things based on small business stuff like that. I ran out of hatred and rage towards the destruction of small business based on bureaucratic overreach and stupid people making decisions. And I was sick of it. The thing is that I remember my consultant saying, Denver, man, you just gotta, because I really wasn't pro-life. Right? I've been so blunt about this, and people are like, God, Den, I mean, how did you do it? I'm like, I don't know. I lost a lot of sleep. So I would come out and say, hey, I'm for exceptions, rape, incest, and health of the mother, which I found out later, if you say health of the mother and not life of the mother, you're actually pro-choice.
Correct.
Because it could be mental health.
Healthcare. I mean,
yeah, abortion's healthcare. So they really hit me on that, but I refused to change. And they're like, well, Denver. So I was in a radio debate and really I lost a million times, right? It was my fault. I mean, trying to have some kind of independent streak, really, it was my fault that I lost the election. I just wasn't good at pandering at some point. I just wanted to fight everybody. And I remember there was this debate and the guy goes, I was running against, he was a QAnon guy and a COVID denier. He's great. He's like, I said, great. That was sarcastically, by the way.
I know. I am with you. I know.
Okay. So I just want to make sure. So he goes, I believe life begins at conception. Do you? And it's because he wouldn't debate me in person. Nobody wants to. I'm really good at it. But the thing is that I got to tell the truth. So my consultants are like, say yes. They're like nodding in the radio, in the freaking studio. They're like, yeah, say it. Yeah, yeah. Like, no. I mean, listen, if you look at science, when is the baby actually viable? I'm about personhood. So I still think there should be exceptions for rape, incest, and health of the mother. At one time I even said age, which actually set people off the reservation. So I'm like, there's got to be exceptions. And that's when I was called pro. I was called anti-family and pro pedophilia at that point. It had gotten so bad with the QAnon folks. I was actually, when I was calling, just to give you a really quick rundown, I think, Adam, this is going to horrify you. I was calling for the convention, 2,500 people. I called a person and he asked me straight out. He goes, hey, do you believe in exceptions for abortion? I said, absolutely, I do. I mean, I might as well tell the truth, right, Adam? At this point, every politician lies, but I was to a point I'm like, I just can't lie. I can't do it. This is not for me. He goes, well, I said, well, he goes, well, I think it's a blessing. Every baby is a blessing. And I said, do you have children? He goes, yes. I said, do you have daughters? He goes, yes. I said, do you have young daughters? He goes, yes. I said, so if say a daughter was raped, is it still a blessing? He goes, rape can be a blessing. So at that point, I knew that the gig was up for me because I told the guy that literally told him he was insane. Like I said, there is never a time where somebody raping a woman is a blessing. I can't even get my arms around that. That is probably one of the most horrific things that can happen. I mean, I have 3 daughters. Listen.
I mean, you're so committed, right? Someone could be so committed to opposing abortion, right? Which in and of itself, I disagree with, that they get themselves into a really
it's almost it's
evil cul-de-sac where they can start to justify these positions, right? You could come to that place and not say, geez, God, rape. I mean, God, if the woman's guy, that she can't carry a rapist baby. And instead he's like, well, if it means, having an abortion, then that woman should carry a rapist baby.
That's what I was told so many times. And I think, here's me, right? Anybody who's like obviously, no, I'm not for abortion. It's awful, right? Abortion's awful. Like, I don't
know anything. I always say to people, because first of all, I have a pro-choice position because I think a government has no business telling a woman what to do with the uteri.
Yep,
right?
You're right.
But I also have a pro-choice position because it just fundamentally isn't my fucking business. And it isn't anybody's business, but that, and I also don't think the law or the government, right? Limited government type should be empowered to go be arresting doctors and women.
If I had,
I mean, why are we talking about this?
My only my only difference, I think, with you, Adam, on that is that at a certain point, if the baby's viable outside the womb, does it become a person based on my libertarian leanings, as you know? And so, at
Well,
what
I
point
agree
do you
with
have
Roe. Roe is 24 weeks. What's wrong with that?
24? Yeah, and that's the thing. 20 weeks.
The thing about getting overturning Roe is like now all these red states, and I'm fine with it, have gone ahead and enshrined abortion rights in their constitution. If you think it's not coming to blue states, these people are in for something. They've lost Kansas, they've lost Montana, they've lost Ohio. These are hardly havens.
These are not havens.
Progressivism. So, I mean, women everywhere are speaking up, and abortion is going to be so salient. So, in a way, you had Roe. They can't. 50 years are so obsessed with Roe. 24 weeks. And then the second semester restrictions, the third, not, but in the most extreme circumstances,
I think if Trump loses, it's because of women. And
I think that's right. I think abortion is the thing. But I was going to ask you this.
Sure.
And before we run out of time anyway. So we got an election coming up. Okay. Mm-hmm. I'm assuming, I'd be fine with Nikki Haley, but I don't think she would be the nominee of this crazy.
No, not even a chance. No, Trump's the nominee.
Joe Biden.
Yeah,
I've been saying that too. I believe that Trump is against Biden. You did not vote for Donald Trump this time because I'm struggling too. Now, see, I think if Liz Cheney's on a third party ticket, I might vote for her because I like what she is.
Yeah, I would
not vote for her.
No, I wouldn't vote. No. So I mean, and by the way,
even though you worked with her, and I guess that's a no.
That's why. So So.
All right, spill that tea.
Nah, it's. I think it's just a personality conflict, and there are some things, conversations that are really private, and we're definitely allied. We're allies when it talks about Donald Trump. There is no doubt about it. But I think a third party run, right now. I've been asked to do crazy things, Adam. I've been asked to run for governor in Virginia. I've been asked to run. So even a group came to me about this specific national presidential race. I said, you guys are smoking crack. I mean, people like me, but I have no infrastructure state to state or what am I going to run as? Independent Denver, the FU party, the Federalist Union. Anyway, I just think it's funny. But
the anti-glue sniffer party.
There you go. There that, I could be that. But I think that, right now when you're looking at the separate, Biden's in a tough spot. Yeah. I think Trump has the inside lane. But I'm thinking when we talked about the abortion issue, but also about Trump during the campaign, I don't even know if there's anything crazy enough he can say to the 30 to 40% that will support Trump no matter what. But I'm hoping there's a 3 to 5% slice that sees him getting crazier and crazier because he is losing a little bit of his cognitive function. I mean, he's definitely slurring words. There's something going on with him. I don't know if he's on drugs or what,
No, he's not well. Do you see the Lincoln Project's latest ad?
Yeah, it was hilarious.
Hilarious.
He's not well. He's not well. So I think you're going to start seeing him become more and more sort of dementia laden with the crazy stuff that he's saying. And I'm hoping that 3 to 5% of the American public that are on the center right to independent to center right are looking at this going, this guy's nuts. If people are going to just pull the RD lever based on the way that the Republicans can actually go through alternate media means to say that inflation's awful, Biden's awful, he's old, he's going to die. I think Trump has a real chance to win this thing. He is the presumptive nominee. I think if you talk about Haley Christie or Vivek Ramaswamy, who I think might be one of the most awful human beings on the planet, just
he's this
absolute.
Guy. He's not going to be the running mate, is he?
I think it's possible. I think Vivek has been trying to be the little Trump. He is one of those little Stalins. He's one of those remora fish. He doesn't
believe in anything. He's just
a freaking.
Trump doesn't believe in anything either. I mean,
Trump doesn't believe in anything. I mean, come on. I mean, anybody thinks so. You
say, the cynic in me is like, the Republicans going to put this brown Hindu guy on the ticket. I don't know about that.
I don't know if they would. And I'm not kidding. I don't think they would. But
when it comes down to it, it is Vivek. They went who Ramaswamy. You've heard people say like, well, who's this guy? Like they like the way he sounds because he's a good mascot. To use as a kind of cover, but I don't see it. I don't know. Maybe Elise Stefanik.
Maybe. I mean, Elise will sell out to anybody. I mean, you're talking about she'll do anything for money. So I think that. Sorry, there. I got. Sorry, but not a fan of Elise Stefanik. So I think Stefanik, but I honestly believe this. I think they're going to poll. I'm going to say something pretty nuts here, but. Sure. I think there's been entreaties. I would say that even though Nikki and Donald have gone, sort of head to head, I think the polling points to a Trump, I would say a Trump-Haley ticket.
Which I think could help Trump, because I think
it would help Trump.
By the way, Nikki Haley is going to wipe the floor with Kamala Harris in a debate. I promise.
Wipe the floor with her.
I mean, Kamala does know. And best what? Here's the thing, and I hate to give them free advice. Kamala says, "Well, I'm the first South Asian Indian," and she's going to go, "Right, so am I, bitch." And you can't call me a racist. No, I mean that's because the problem now is also there's another factor here, and I have to tell you, it's part of this realignment because it shook me to the core. And I've never been that religious, but I certainly was bar mitzvahed, and being a Jew is who I am. Well, no. I mean,
I got you. No, I'm with you.
I grew up with parents and grandparents, especially, anti-Semitism comes back around in different forms. It's you're never safe, the whole thing. Oh, I always thought I was safe. Never have I felt more unsafe as a Jew, but not because of the right, because of the left. And they now have a problem where they've got to appease their whack jobs. And you're going to see...
if Kamala
you're
Harris,
going to see a realignment. You're going to see Jewish voters abandon the Democratic Party this time, especially when the Muslim vote, whatever percentage of the country that I didn't know that they were really such a voting bloc, but I mean, Michigan, maybe they're threatening and walking out. The youth is walking out. Listen, 1980, Ronald Reagan, there's a post-war record, highest percentage of the Jewish vote because Jimmy Carter was so bad on Israel. Now, Joe Biden is not bad. Joe Biden's great. But the bases, Jimmy Carter was like the bases now back in 1979, 1980. And Jewish voters did not vote for the Democratic nominee. And Biden can't afford to lose anybody. This election's won within an inch of its life, within an inch of every glue sniffer's vote. No, I mean, it is.
It's the truth. It's the truth. And I tell you,
that worries me because now he has been good, but he's going to hate. See, Trump, to me, by democracy, abortion, Biden's going to have to do what he did in 2020. This is the defund the police. He's going to have to say, I stand with Israel and I'm a stand against terrorism. Put this to bed. I don't care what the left does because independents a majority of America wants to hear that. They don't want to hear, well, Hamas is a resistance movement. No. Thankfully, we're still a pro-Israel country. We got a big Christian base in this country. Biden, to get independence, cannot go wobbly, as Margaret Thatcher would say. And I'm not just saying because I don't want him to lose his moral fiber. I just know that could cost him the election if he does.
TikTok should not be determining his policy, Adam. And
by the way, should TikTok be banned?
No. I mean,
it's a free speech thing.
It for me, it is. And, TikTok, I think, if you look at, listen, me and you, that discussion is a long
That's
one.
Another discussion.
That's a long dated discussion.
But before we go, though, are you going to vote for Joe Biden?
Yeah, if it's Biden against Trump, I would. There's no doubt about it. I mean, you can't listen. Trump to me is one of the greatest threats we've ever seen. And it's not because of Trump specifically. The people around him are just smarter than Trump. If they underestimate the Roger Stones, if they underestimate the Steve Bannons or the Mike Flynn's at the Reawaken America revivals, if you underestimate Unified in Purpose, UIP, or Ziklag, all these Christian national groups, or the Seven Mountains Dominionism, or the NAR, the New Apostolic Reformation, if you're underestimating what's going on in the evangelical circles and you're underestimating what's going on with the messaging that they can do on alternate media, then you're just not paying attention. And I think that's what it comes down to. It's not just Trump. It's that people around him have no moral compass, and that makes them very effective. And I've told people they're just more effective than Democrats. They're tougher. They have no boundaries. The Democrats think this is the Marcus of Queensberry rules or something like that, or they're doing some fisticuffs.
Well, they run on policy. They say, but Joe Biden passed the CHIPS Act, and everyone goes, the what? They don't know what that is.
They don't give a shit.
They don't even know what they write. Again, presidential elections. Rick Wilson actually taught me this. They are not about. I know. The policy wonks on both sides, but especially the policy progressives, the good ones, not the way, but we got to sell. But it's boys and girls, ladies and gents, theys, whoever you are out there, listen, it's not about the policy.
It's not. And, I just find it interesting that, listen, man, Trump's not going to make it about the policy. And it's going to be. He
has no policy other than Trump.
No, but Biden is going to be debating Trump next year. And the combined age of those individuals will be what, 159?
Yes. I never thought of it like that, but yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And plus, Biden doesn't hold the incumbent advantage like he would normally because he's going against another freaking president.
That's it. Trump is
And
not an unknown quantity, and I
he's
don't
not.
think incumbency is what it cracked up to, is what it used to be.
No, I
Not
honestly
with a
believe
restive, angry populist vibe of the moment where people are not trusting any institution, let alone government. They're like, oh, well, he's been there, so we got to rely. If
no.
anything, he's in their view, right? In the rebellious view, he's got to go. He's part of the problem.
Well, bringing this full circle, nobody cares about January 6th either. And you know, the thing is, I wrote a book that I thought would just blow the top off with data. Did okay. New York Times bestseller, great. But, you know, even people today, you know, I'll go and say, hey, the data really does show that Trump's minions were really bad actors in this. And this was, they were doing coup-like movements. Anybody who says that based on the data, if you deny it, I just have the data here. Here's the facts-based insights. They don't give a shit. They don't care. I mean, you come in this district right now, 75% of Republicans support Trump. So there's no January 6th is gone. So I do believe I still like to talk about it because it shows you the roadmap for what they're going to do in 25 or maybe, you know, down the road, what they're doing in local elections. But Adam, you know, I would say the Democrats need to find a way to tap into alternate media and to get a message out that shows Trump for what he is, which is a crazy old man screaming at the clouds that's dangerous, that has no real policy recommendations and wants to subordinate the United States to China, wants to subordinate the United States to Russia. He's a boy who likes bigger men. And that's what Trump is. You know, when you're looking at Xi, when you're looking at Xi, when you're looking at Putin, you know, Trump is their boy. He is a boy. And I think that's where you need to have the messaging is you need to tear him apart personally as a child in a candy shop who likes to pick at the Russian and Chinese candies. And that's how I would go at him.
Now, on that note, I have to tell you, I'm so sorry that we are not surrogates enough for the DNC because they do not have surrogates like you, sir. You yield to nobody, nor should you on your patriotism. Thank you for writing your book. Folks, the book is The Breach, The Untold Story of the January 6th Investigation. This has been my talk with Denver Riggleman. And Denver, please come back and see us anytime. Before you go, though, tell everybody where to find you on Twitter and your AI company.
Oh, my goodness. Yes. You can go to rigglemangroup.com for my AI company, which is very good. We have a very good Adam Kinzinger is on my advisory board, by the way, Adam.
Oh, excellent.
And yeah, so which is really cool. If you want to do my Twitters or my X's or whatever it is, it's Rep Riggleman, R-E-P, and then my last name Riggleman, R-I-G-G-L-E-M-A-N, or Denver 4 Virginia, the number 4, Denver 4 VA, which is my other one. Or you can go on Instagram, which is Denver Riggleman, or you can go on Post, which is Denver Riggleman, or you can go on Denver Riggleman, which is might be Rep Riggleman on Threads. So I'm all over the place. I'm easy to find. And if you want to watch a lot, you know, thousands of interviews on YouTube, whatever you want to do, you know, or you can go look at Bigfoot stuff too. So you can have that too. So there you go.
Well, Denver, so glad to have you. I am deeming you here and now. Hear ye. Denver Riggleman is a dirty moderate.
I am honored by that.
I'm honored to have you. Come back and see us soon. Thanks again.
Thanks, Adam.